Hey, welcome back to the Paddock Pulse podcast. We are so excited to have you here. This is all about the thoroughbred sport horse industry, and not just racing, but everything that gets wrapped up in and outside of it, before and after the horse becomes a racehorse and everything in between. So this week we thought it'd be super fun as we are coming into the Derby, the jewel of the Triple Crown, the beginning of the Triple Crown. The Kentucky Derby is just next week. So we thought it'd be fun to share with you a few ways that you yourself can get in the game and learn more. So today we have with us Caitin Ward from My Racehorse. She is officially the Director of Events and Strategic Partnerships, but I just know that Caitin just does it all. She is an impressive force in our world and our industry. And so I'm going to go ahead and bring her on. Leah, did you want to say a couple of words?
Yeah, I think, one of the things that we've, talked about is getting involved with the sport in tangible, hands-on ways. And one of those really exciting opportunities is through syndicates. And we have some really unique and new syndicates that have started in the last few years. And My Racehorse is definitely one of those. And they've had some really fun success. So I'm really excited to talk to Caitin today.
Glad you're here, Caitin. What's up?
Hey guys, how's it going?
So far, so good. Technical difficulties, timing, everyone's struggling, but we're here, so that's good.
I know it's like the most Monday, Wednesday there's ever been. I feel like
accurate.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Okay, so let's kick it up and tell us a little bit about yourself, because you've been raised in this business, which I absolutely love because both Leah and I were not. So I'd love to know a little bit more about yourself, and then tell us about My Racehorse. And its goals and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. So I was raised in the industry. My parents are 2-year-old consigners. I guess the industry term is pinhookers, which I always joke on career day in second grade was kind of a weird thing to go in and tell the class. But I grew up around it. I was really, really focused on swimming. I swam all through college. I had big dreams for that, I feel like, as most young athletes do. I wasn't as involved in the horse industry until I stopped swimming, and I kind of had a bit of like an identity crisis. What am I going to do now? I was a swimmer. Where do I go? And my dad was like, here, come try this out. And I think I replaced my love for one sport with love for another one. And all roads kind of led to My Racehorse for me, because I wasn't hands-on with horses. I wasn't riding or assistant training or anything like that. So I was like, oh, there's nothing for me in this industry. And when I found My Racehorse, it was more business development stuff that I was familiar with from school, from undergrad and my master's and stuff, and got into it. And I've been here for almost 4 years now. So it's been going good.
That's incredible. I don't mean to interrupt you, but like Leah and I are always talking about how people are like, I can't get in the business. There is a place for everyone. Caitin was not even a horse person, and here she is. Yeah. She wants this business side. What's your master's?
International business.
Oh my gosh, that's so perfect. Yeah.
Perfectly suited for this industry. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was definitely like my best friend in the entire world is Andy Biancone. And if anybody knows anything about Andy, she's like the most hands-on person. She does it all. She's literally a Swiss Army knife in the horse industry. So I was looking at her and I'm going, oh my gosh, I cannot, not the same.
Don't compare.
And then, like I said, I kind of found my own spot in this world. So definitely a huge, thing. If people are watching this aren't horsey people, but they want in, there's places. You just have to get a bit creative.
Okay, tell us about My Racehorse.
I mean, it's been incredible. I actually kind of stumbled into the job. I remember I was on like LinkedIn and Indeed, and I saw the listing that they were looking for, I think a marketing position. And I was like, oh, they're such a big company. Like, they're not even going to look at my application kind of thing. My husband at the time, he was my boyfriend. He was like, oh, I have a friend that works there. Maybe I'll just text her and see what's going on. And I got an interview, and from there, it just kind of kicked off. And, with My Racehorse, it's been really cool to see all of the involvement from so many people that were just at home, either fans or gamblers, or thought it'd be a fun gift to give someone. Like, I bought you a horse for your birthday. Everyone getting in and just loving horses. And it's really evolved from the time that I started in 2021 to now. I came in on the heels of the Authentic boom, which was kind of what put My Racehorse on the map. And then now getting to see Seize the Gray, it's been like full circle for me.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like how people can, like how little it is to be able to get in and get started, and then what a race day kind of looks like. And some of your events that you do that you've told me about.
Totally. Yeah. So I've been in the events and experiences department from the time that I started with my racehorse. And I always say that our job is to make every owner feel like the only owner in the world. Even if there's, 10,000 on one horse, we still try and do very personalized experiences. So you can get in on a horse for as little as, $50, sometimes up to $150. We bundle horses. That's, $200, but you get five horses at a time. And then from there, every horse kind of has its own amount of owners. So if we sell 10,000 shares in a horse, there's maybe 5,000 owners on that horse, because you can buy multiple shares.
Right. Okay.
So then the fun stuff happens of like, what happens when my horse runs? How do I get in the paddock? Because obviously you can't bring 5,000 friends into the paddock. So we have these lotteries that are all fully automated. If, you guys own one share, you get your name in once. If your friend owns 10 shares, they get their name in 10 times, and we just pull it at random. And then same thing, race day seating, everything is lottery system. And then we will do our own things on top of that, which might be paid, but we try and get horsemen's discounts and all that kind of stuff so that everyone can come out and enjoy the race day.
Awesome. What about do you still do the thing at OBS? The precept show?
Yeah, the Ocala showcase. We've been doing it. We did the first one in 2022, and it's actually so cool. Our Australian branch has started doing it now as well, which is kind of cool to see that it's gone global. But we bring in all of our horses that were, yearlings and training into 2-year-olds into OBS, usually in February. So sometimes we'll have 10, sometimes we'll have, 15, 16 horses on site, all from different farms. They go out, they gallop in front of all the owners. We usually have 400 to 500 people on site, which is incredible. And then really cool. They all get to go back to the barn, love on the horses, kind of get to meet them. And it's one place where like all of our horses will be in one area at the same time, which is never going to happen again, typically. So everyone gets to like go and see their horses before they go off to various parts of the country. But it's really, really cool.
Yeah. So it's like the Ocala Breeders and Sales, like a fairgrounds kind of. Mm-hmm. And all the different farms bring in the My Racehorses that they have, and they come together mm-hmm. and showcase the horses for the owners. I just think every single, especially the micro share partnership, should be doing something like that. I just think that is incredibly special that you guys do that.
Yeah, that's so cool. And correct me if I'm wrong, Caitlin, but I've kind of always thought of My Racehorse as really like an experience-driven program and kind of focusing on, the owners are buying, micro pieces of these horses, but what they're really buying into is the experience of horse ownership, and doing things like that is so cool because you are really getting, a really cool, unique experience. So I laughed when you said, I can gift these to people. And in the very early days, I actually did that. I gifted some My Racehorse shares to my parents because they're not racehorse people and they really enjoyed it. But through that, what I was really impressed with was the daily communications and updates. Can you kind of explain what it looks like if you were to become an owner with My Racehorse? What could you expect to be receiving in your inbox daily?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that we've always really, really had the most emphasis on is our updates, because the majority of our owners will probably never come to a racetrack. We have 100,000 owners in the United States. So we're seeing a very small portion of them actually coming out in person. So we really want to make sure that if you're sitting at home on your couch, you're seeing everything like you would be if you were walking down the shed row of Todd Pletcher's barn. So we really try and make sure that every horse has an update every 1 to 2 weeks, just depending on where they are in their training. And, as you guys know, when they're out in a field on 60-day rest, there's really not that much to update. They're still grazing, they're still hanging out, but we always try and get those big milestones that people are really excited to see, and just make sure that they feel as involved as if they were 100% owner calling up their trainer saying, what's going on today.
Amazing.
Really cool.
Okay, Leah, hit her up with some of your purchasing monies questions.
Yeah. So, obviously, we're going to talk in this episode to a couple more, what I would consider traditional syndicates, but I know you guys are purchasing a lot of horses, and most of I shouldn't say most, I'm assuming most of your owners are not people who have a ton of experience with horses and wouldn't be able to go to the sale and just know what to pick out. So what is that process like? Who's buying horses for you? What specifically are you looking for in horses that fit the My racehorse program?
So we have our team, our bloodstock team is Joe Moran and Nick Hines, and they will go out to the sales, put together their initial, short lists, and then usually we kind of call it filling orders. So we are a marketing company, and we try and find horses that we think fit what our customers and our owners want. When Seize the Gray one, we knew there was going to be a huge demand to have more Wayne Lucas horses. If, we're having a lot of success with one trainer, we'll try and put more horses there. Also, we look at it geographically. If we're light on horses in California, we try and find horses that we think would fit our California trainers to make sure that our owners in California are still having fun. They have, horses that are running and training, things to follow along with. Yeah. We typically see our owners want to buy horses near where they live. So if they can go to the races, it's close. So we want to make sure that we're pretty evenly dispersed across the states as best we can. Obviously, horses have their own plans for when they want to run. We do our best. But then from there, we'll also, try and partner up with other more traditional owners. So if they want to come in, we'll go 50-50 on a horse, or really it's 60-40. Yeah. So just because the way that we are with the SEC, we're a securitized company, so we have to have the majority ownership, which sometimes sounds scary, but it's not. We're really fun. So it's all good. And then from there, we'll kind of come back. We just got back from the April sale, so bought a few horses there. And then basically everything gets handed over to marketing, and they start figuring out the best way to showcase our horses, so that if someone that isn't very familiar and they're like, oh my gosh, what the heck is a midshipman? You're like, here, this is why you should own a midshipman. And we try and give them as much information to buy those shares and go on to the races.
That's so cool. I think that's something that I personally am so excited about your program, is that it really is educating people. And when I was seeing kind of the behind the scenes content through, my parents' shares, that was the thing that struck me. Was it wasn't just like, here's your horse. It was, here's your horse, here's the training process, here's why we're doing it. And it was so educational. And I'm just wondering, is it a goal that you guys have to create people who maybe like graduate out of the microshare program into, more traditional horse ownerships? Do you have any people who have kind of become My Racehorse owners and then gone on to own bigger shares in horses?
Totally. It happens all the time. It's funny, like we'll see sales results and we're like, weren't they just buying micro shares the other day? So it's cool to see that. I think My Racehorse, for the person that isn't sure about how horse racing works, it's a really easily digestible program. It's a one-time payment. Your training bills, everything is paid upfront to us, and you just get to go along on the ride. Basically what it would cost to have dinner for one, right? So when they see that, they can kind of see, oh, okay, this is how long it should take for a horse to get through the racetrack, or, oh, I didn't like that experience. Maybe I'd like it more if it was this way. And then they can, make their own judgment on if they want to go out on their own. But we're always rooting for them when they take the next step to more. And they've started partnering up themselves too. Like we've seen them go and claim horses in a big group and stuff like that. So it's fun. Everyone's spreading their wings and flying. So it's great.
That is so cool. That I just find that so exciting. Is like Leah was saying in the beginning, neither of us came from a racehorse upbringing. So the concept of even being involved in this industry for most of my childhood was like a pipe dream. And I still don't even believe that I get to do this every day, most of the days. So having something like My Racehorse to bring those people in is, it's really never been done before. And I think it was filling a gap in the industry here that was so desperately needed. And that makes me so excited to know that they're spreading their wings and taking that knowledge and running.
Absolutely. Okay, so you mentioned Seize the Gray. You guys have been in Winner's Circle across the country. It sounds like now in Australia. Won the Kentucky Derby, like that's coming up, the first jewel of the Triple Crown. You guys have won that already. And more recently with Seize the Gray. I think we all had a ton of fun watching your partnership come together and watch him win a classic race. Tell us a little bit about that day and what that meant for the people that were there. Any highlights you want to share?
So we always talk about, when Authentic won, it was during COVID. So My Racehorse had just gotten started. A lot of people weren't allowed at the racetracks. It was one of those wins, like when I talked to my boss about it, Michael Behrens, he's like, there weren't that many people. So it didn't really, feel the same as when Seize the Gray won, because then all of a sudden it was, the floodgates were open and we had hundreds of people there. And it was probably the best race day I've ever experienced in my life. Like it was
Oh my God,
it was so
that's a lot. You've been around a lot of big race days. That's
yeah,
a big
no,
deal.
it was so special, like just seeing everybody come together, like people that would never have met outside of owning this horse together, and they're hugging and crying, and everyone's, and like now they're all friends, they make plans, and everyone hangs out, stuff like that. So Seize the Gray was also really special because we had him from a yearling. So we bought him at the Saratoga Select Sale in at Tipton, and we had him from then on. He actually went to my dad's for pre-training. So we had him for 6 to 8 months before he went to Wayne. And then we were lacking in a racing manager position or a spot for that at that time. So I kind of stood in and just helped with content, talking to Wayne. So it was really fun for me to get to see him from yearling all the way to winning the Preakness. I remember I was crying. I was so happy. I was like, oh my gosh, we just won. And then I like snapped together. Oh my God, we just won. We're going to have hundreds of people rushing to the winner's circle. And I went off tearing to the winner's circle.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was
they
incredible.
Were there, right? They were all down in the winner's circle. And it killed me that NBC didn't really show it, because I was like, I know they're there, and I saw pictures later, but it made me so mad that NBC wasn't like, you could be here too. Like, it was so beautiful.
It's one of those things too, like I know racetracks, like, oh, they hate to see me calling, because I'm like, hi, it's Caitin with My Racehorse. We might have 1,000 people.
You're welcome.
Exactly. But I'm like, we might have 1,000 people there. So how could we make the winner's circle? How could we accommodate, that kind of thing? So you make all these plans. And I think a lot of times, the racetracks were kind of like, oh yeah, if they win, it'll be fine. And then when he won, that was our first big one, like our first really, really big one. And it kind of set the stage for how can we evolve these practices that have just been like traditionally 20 people maybe in the winner's circle into making it more accessible for more people to come in, because that's what everyone wants. Like everyone wants that moment. So you can't shut the doors. And then with Straight No Chaser winning the Breeders' Cup, it was good to have that blueprint of what we did at the Preakness. I mean, the Horsemen's Relations team at Pimlico are all-stars. Like they helped so much. It was unbelievable. And same thing with Breeders' Cup. Like we had plans in place. It all executed perfectly. So, but yeah, huge shout outs to the racetracks that deal with me, because I know they probably are like, oh gosh, this girl, she's calling again.
I literally cannot stop smiling. Like, this all makes me so happy. Okay, Leah, let's hit her with your hot seat questions.
So we always ask our guests these questions, and it's become really fun. But we start out by saying, who is the horse that got you into the game, or the first racehorse that you remember, like, consistently following and made you interested in just watching racing?
Mine's going to be so cliche. Like, it's not going to be groundbreaking. So just bear with me. But Zenyatta was the girl for me. I mean,
she's already mentioned. You were not alone.
No, she was so cool. Like when I was growing up watching, I remember bawling my eyes out when Blame beat her. Like I was distraught.
There that day. Sorry not to interrupt you, but I was there that day, and I have never experienced Churchill Downs.
It was quiet.
It was like poor Blame has just won the biggest race of his life, and it was stunned. People were stunned. People were crying. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life, and I hope to never see again, because it was heartbreaking. But I mean, she lost nothing in defeat. But yeah, that's not a cliche answer. She definitely she has brought a lot of people to the sport.
She is like the queen. I remember because I was swam growing up, and my coach used to get so mad at me when I was younger, and I would try and swim races like her. So I would like sit back, and then I'd come at the end, and he's like, you're worried about times, girl. What are you doing? And I'm like, no, I'm swimming like Zenyatta. And he's like, who is Zenyatta? Like, what are you talking about?
He's like, I need you to be a sprinter, not a closer. What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. What are you doing? So yeah, that was like a weird horse girl moment for sure for me, telling my swim coach, I'm like Zenyatta. And he's like, what is that? Okay.
That is so relatable. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So now that you have kind of been in this a little bit more, do you have a favorite that that you either somebody who's currently racing, or that just retired, or maybe someone that we don't even know about yet in the stable? Do you have a current favorite
in My Racehorse?
Just in general, it could be My Racehorse or not.
Well, like my favorite My Racehorse, I mean, it would have to be Seize the Gray. Again, a cliche answer, but it was just selfishly speaking, like aside from the fact that the people that I met along the way, like all the owners were so incredible, but selfishly getting to be right there with Wayne Lucas the whole time, like around him he's such a legend, and hearing his stories.
Actual legend, yeah.
Yeah. And I felt so lucky. I was like, I'm going to look back on this when I'm older and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I got to spend a year with them, like traveling around. And he was the coolest horse because he was a golden retriever. Like he was so easy to be around. And thank God he was, because we had so many people that wanted to pet him and love on him and stuff like that. And he was like, I'm a superstar. So yeah, I'll do that. Like he loved it. So he was just the coolest animal with the coolest trainer and the coolest people around him. All of Wayne Lucas's staff is incredible. So he's got to be the top dog for me.
That's amazing. What should we be looking forward to with My Racehorse? Anything you want to plug?
Ooh, we have a lot of exciting stuff coming. I don't know how much I can talk about with it, but we are going to have some really, really cool horses hitting the site soon. Some really cool partnerships and just different things like that. We've actually got Caldera, who is a Wayne Lucas trainee, another gray horse who right now might have his eyes set on the Preakness. So catch us there again, maybe, which would be insane if we could hit the repeat. Yeah. So I would say that. And, you know, we've got a lot of horses going to Dan Blacker, who had Straight No Chaser, our Eclipse champion. And, you know, it's kind of fun to follow along on those journeys too. So yeah, keep checking the site. Plug, plug, plug.
Yeah. How do they find you? MyRacehorse.com?
MyRacehorse.com. And you can read about us or hit the buy button and see what we've got on the site. We're going to be putting up a few horses here pretty soon. We just bought a few in April. So the buy page will be pretty full here in the next couple weeks.
All right. Awesome. Caitlin, thank you so much for your time.
I love what you guys are doing. It's so much fun to watch. So it's been great.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Okay. So next up, we have Terry Finley, the president and CEO of West Point Thoroughbreds, joining us. West Point has found themselves in winner's circles across America. They have found themselves hitting the scene at the thoroughbred sales hard and heavy, going after the top athletes up and coming, and have found themselves next to history-making horses like Flightline. Welcome to the podcast, Terry Finley.
Great to be on with you guys. Really good. We got 10 days before the Derby, so we're trying to be nice and calm and collected. But I'm not sure we're doing. I said to my wife last night, I'm starting to get a little bit, starting to go a little bit. So
yeah, so you have Sandman. We'll just hop right in there. You've got Sandman in the Derby this year. He's not your first top horse. What about Sandman is like extra special right now and giving you all those jitters?
Yeah, I actually played golf 2 days ago over in Louisville with Dale Romans, who we're real good friends, and my wife and Dale's wife, or actually significant other, are good friends. But we had a chance to go see Sandman and gallop yesterday morning. He worked today, but he walks around like, hey, I'm pretty special. And when you see horses like that, I know we're biased, but when they have that strut and they love the camera and they've got personality, I don't know, there's something about a really good horse when you can put that combo together. So I think that's what we're seeing with him, and all systems go. I know the win of the Derby is very, very difficult, but I think he's in with a very, very big shot. I'd be surprised if he doesn't run really well. I don't know where that's going to put him, but I'd be surprised if he doesn't show up in a big way next Saturday.
Yeah, no, I actually really, really agree with you. I'm not just saying that because you're here in front of us. I'm obsessed with his personality. I'm obsessed with how much he loves people and peppermints and all the things. So tell me a little bit about what your partners can expect, or if you want to actually just start up a little bit about the group. What the partnership kind of looks like for like any normal buy-in, and then what you can expect on a race day. Yeah.
So last year, Leah, we bought him at the 2-year-old sale. He just galloped. A little bit of a sad story. The Lothenbach family, Bob Lothenbach, who I didn't have the pleasure to meet, but he passed away a couple months before. And the estate just put all the 2-year-old, or all the yearlings at that time, into the 2-year-old sales. So they were all late ads, and they really didn't have a shot to be prepped like a normal 2-year-old. So they made a very smart decision, and they just galloped him. And we love the way he galloped, just a smooth customer. And so anyway, we put a group together, the Greens of DJ Stable. We put Vinny Viola, St. Elias. There's a new partner that we have, CJ Stable, Chuck Sonson, and of course the West Point team. And we put it like a group together, like literally about 20 minutes before the sale. We knew he was going to bring a lot of money. We didn't think he'd bring 1,200,000, but we gave him to Mark Cassie, and we didn't think he was going to show up in the entries in June. And he did, and he was even money, and he didn't run very well. He got in a speed duel with another one of our horses, ironically, Keep It Easy. And he backed out, and he got beat 12 or 15 lengths, and we were kind of scratching our head like either we made a big mistake or we have something, or we're going to start building. Mark's just done an amazing job. He's been right on it, and all throughout the winter he said, I'm not giving this horse a break. I want to run him because I think he's going to get better with the experience. And now this will be his 9th start in the Derby, and we are over the top excited because a lot of these horses, they run 2 or 3 times, and you look back and they don't have the experience and the seasoning. We do. I think that's going to help us.
Absolutely. I actually talked about him in a prior episode because it's nice to see people give credit to a horse that goes out and gallops and doesn't have to speed down the lane. And now he's had 9 starts. This is the future of our industry, please God. Leah,
I think so. We'll talk about that. I would hope we could come back because I know that's a whole nother conversation. But I think the 2-year-old, I think the consigners are starting to get that message. You don't have to put horses on the precipice of going wrong or getting hurt to get a lot of money. But you got to be smart about it. And you can't say, well, what about this one? What about that one? In general, we know the way the industry should go.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
If you're wanting to spend that money on a horse that just gallops, then that's awesome. That helps the consigner, right? Leah, what's your questions? You had some questions about the partnership, like the West Point partnership itself, right?
Yeah. So if somebody was looking into getting into racehorse ownership and they happened upon West Point, what does that look like? What is the onboarding entry process into your syndicate? What are the costs like? What's the experience?
Yeah. Well, we've been doing it for 30 years, like actually 34. This is our 34th year we've been putting together partnerships. I think we've learned a good bit. I like to say we're still learning, right? We're still trying to be, good syndicate managers as well as good owners, because you got to compete with other really good owners, the best owners in the world. And if you don't evolve and you don't try to compete, yeah, you might have a good website, you might have good customer service, and you might be friends and engage with your partnership, but you're not going to be successful. You have to do the things that other owners, other operations do on a regular basis. I.e., use the claiming ranks. I.e., really get good trainers. Go to, if a horse isn't a top class horse yet, and you think you've got a shot, and you go to Zia Park or other places. Like, they're the things that we tried not to do at the beginning of our career, even 15 years ago, that we're doing now, because we know that it's a process. And if you play the long game, right, most horses aren't what we want them to be. We know that because it's a number, it's a zero-sum game.
Right.
But when they get there and you've played a part in their development because you've made smart decisions, that's very fulfilling. And so the experience is, we've been around, we know what it takes to have and to create a very, very good experience for our partners. And so we've just worked on our team, and it's all out there. We don't pull any punches. We give it to our partners straight, our prospective partners straight. And I think people like that. I know there are some other good partnerships, and it's easy to get into the partnership business. We'd like to think that we've shown that we're stayers, and we want to go 1.5 miles, quote unquote, in the partnership business. We don't want to go 4.5 at Keeneland in April as a 2-year-old. We want to be around. And the other thing is you got to give back. You got to give back. I know partnerships, look, we make money. We buy horses on the wholesale level and we syndicate on the retail level. But this is what we do. And so we love the fact that we're in the position where we can help the jocks, and we're very active in the PDJF and all those other things, because jocks, and that's a whole nother story as well. I mean, what they bring to our business, and I think they should be protected more. And I know a lot of other people do as well, but it's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to actually get engaged. And we and I have tried to do that, and obviously retirement, and we have some challenges in our business. And it's one thing to go on to Twitter and to just reiterate and regurgitate the same old tired, everything's effed up. the jockey club sucks, blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
It's another thing. It's another thing. And we're talking about people that haven't just been in the business for a year or two. Other people have been in 20 years, 25 years. You got to do something. You got to get elected. You
Yeah.
got to stand up. And it's like, you see where I'm going. And I'd like to think every time I'm like tempted to, I want to dedicate my focus and my effort and our efforts to doing things. Because when you
Yeah.
do things, you make progress, and you don't make progress at a keyboard.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what,
Just my thought.
That's what Leah and I are doing here. Listen, we are not podcasters. We are not media, we don't know. We're just trying to get some of the good word out there. So if you don't care, can you elaborate briefly on the Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund and what you're kind of actively doing right now within that? Because it is a dangerous job, and I know they love it, and they say they'd rather die on a horse than die of boredom, or whatever Frankie said on that Crown show. But we know it's dangerous, and so what are you guys pushing right now?
Yeah, we're really just pushing for people to pull out their checkbooks. Unfortunately, there's no sustainable revenue source for the 60 or so jocks who are disabled as a result of accidents on the racetrack. And in a lot of respects, that's very irritating, and it's very sad. And all we can do is we can talk about that, or we can say, when we have the telethons at Keeneland that FanDuel puts together and does such a good job, you got to step up. And it's fine to donate 1,000 or 2, but it's another thing, to have it be pretty painful and to say, like, I probably don't need to donate this much, but those jocks that are in the wheelchairs, like, think about their plight and think, Michael Straight and I have become very good friends, and he was a rising star. And one day at Arlington, one bad step and one bad decision by another jock that cut him off, he goes down, and he in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. So I think the number's up a little bit. It's about $1,500 a month, right, for jocks, which basically, you can barely have a car payment, and your electric bill. So we need to do a better job. What are we doing here? We draw so much entertainment and joy from these jocks that we owe it to them. And I know we have a lot of different elements in our business that require our time, talent, and treasure, but the jocks and the permanently disabled ones are the part of the industry really caught my attention.
I appreciate that, and I agree with you. I know for a fact you guys are incredible when it comes to your athletes' second careers. And do you care to share a little bit about that with us while we're on this subject? Because, not everyone does. There's bad actors in every industry, but most of you guys do. And if you want to share a little bit about how you guys take care of them.
No, I think the TAA, which started 15 years or so with a meeting right before the Belmont at Belmont Stakes in the trustees room with a good number of the players. And I know Jack Wolf, who is a competitor but is a person in the industry I really respect a lot, and he was the driving force, and his team driving force behind a TAA. Like, let's get this thing going, right? I think we're probably at some point with the PDJF, we're probably in that system. Like, hey, let's get something better going. And they did. And I think one of the things TAA, as well as doling out funding, it's also bringing attention. So people are talking about it and thinking about our retired racehorses. And so my daughter, who's my COO and really runs the company, Erin, she does our retirement, and she tracks horses all over the country. When you get horses claimed away, they can and do usually show up at a lot of places, second and third level tracks. So it's really not that hard if you have the intentionality, and the focus that, listen, if a horse carries our silks, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that they reach a point in their life where they're going to be happy and safe and healthy and well taken care of. So it's not a complex equation. It just requires people to be committed.
And part of that budget, right? Part of that racehorse budget, I know that you send them to local operations, depending on where they retire. You guys have found places that will take these horses and get them let down. You ship one, we as a partnership ship one back to me, got it gelded, and I love that. I love that Aaron and you guys have made that a priority.
Yeah. And so there's no one size fits all, because every horse and every ownership situation is different. And that's what I say to people. It's not like one national organization is going to address our aftercare, our challenges. It's basically owner by owner. And that's what we're working on. And look, I've said it for a long time. Sometimes the backlash we get, it's totally on us, right? Our game and our culture, we've let it this and that. But on the flip side, I think sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit as an industry. Look at Aftercare, look at our culture from 2009. So let's give ourselves credit, because we keep beating ourselves up and like, but I love it. I love it because I'm seeing people saying, I'm not that kind of story of beating each other up and banging on this organization or that organization, while trying to also say, but I put my money in, and I've grown a bunch of companies, and I'm a billionaire. Like that's okay, but I don't think it's genuine in a lot of respects, because it's a lot of people doing a lot of great things. And I love the younger generation in our industry. Like, they've got new ideas, they've got passion, they've got the safety, they got integrity on their mind. So, and they're using social media, and they're using the power of their connections to help our business. So while we're not going to snap our fingers and have our challenges go away, I love when I go to the sales and I see younger people, and they're trying to get horses done. They're trying to get deals done. They're trying to learn. They're trying to be good citizens. It's very, I think that's a very, very positive thing.
Super encouraging. Okay. We have two more mini sections left to go. And Leah, just whatever you need to say, totally interrupt me. But I want to make sure, you mentioned social media, and Griffin Johnson, who I did not know, is a guy on Instagram. He's got 2.6 million followers. He came out, he's a partner in Sandman. He explained how he got in to the gig was through an opportunity that you created with the Jockey Club. Give me like a snippet, because I think that is so fantastic.
Yeah. Well, we didn't create it. Like the Jockey Club, just to give you a very quick, in late 2008 or 9, they brought in McKinsey, the consulting firm, and they said, you got to give us a roadmap, and you got to help us with like what the next 10 to 15 years look like. And one of the things they said was in the promotion area and recruiting and retaining new fans, new bettors, and owners. So those are the three things. And out of that came ABR, which is a great group. It's a vibrant group. And about 3 years ago, ABR, that group, America's Best Racing, they came up with an initiative called Stake in Stardom, and they got influencers and other media types to kind of come into our business. I participated. There were a couple other partnerships, and we would offer up partnership units or shares to the influencers or media types that brought in. And it was good. Everybody that got in, they were all, they had good intentions. And last year, right after the 2-year-old sales, my daughter-in-law knew a friend of Griffin, and she was like, hey, you've got some good influencers and some good people, but what about Griffin? So at that time, he was 24 years old. He has about 20 million followers in aggregate, and is really growing in the right way. And it's not just, I've learned a lot about what the influencer viewpoint is. It's not just about throwing up content. And it's about the right content at the right time, in a metered way, in a measured way. He's just taken to horse racing in a huge way. We couldn't pay him enough for what we're getting as an industry. And there's some very, very exciting things, even to the extent of him possibly, in all likelihood, getting a deal with a major ADW. So,
Cool.
and so basically just right promoting the fact that he's in, and with 20 million followers, and look, they're not going to pull any punches. There's a good chance he's going to put a link in front of 20 million people to join an ADW with the intent to bet on Sandman, to make Sandman the favorite in the Derby. And so,
Yeah, that'll happen.
oh, and that's what he wants to do. And we kind of threw it around, and he was like, you think I can do that? And he's a very positive, very energetic guy. And so I really wouldn't be surprised if when they walk into the gate next Saturday that Sandman's the favorite, because it's all coming together. And, the response he's getting is just over the top. I mean, millions and millions of views. And, Mark Cassidy, for example, he was at the barn last Saturday after this horse galloped, after Sandman galloped, right? Griffin washed him. So he's been around horses. But he actually washed them, and he looked pretty good. I told him, like, he's not perfect, but he's not a newbie. And that video had millions and millions of views. And anyway, I think it's probably, and I know we're part of it, but it's probably one of the most exciting things, and potentially the most impactful thing in terms of betting, in terms of fans, and in terms of owners that we could hope for. So you think about, this was really 15 years in the making, in large part to the investment and the focus of the Jockey Club and the staff at ABR, which has done a tremendous job. So I'm very proud of them. So anybody that tells you that the Jockey Club and is out of whack with everything they do, you got to raise your eyebrow. And two, this is basically today's, I'd say, version of a national marketing program. We don't need to do expensive TV commercials. We need to get people like Griffin Johnson that are passionate, and you tell right away he loves our business already. I think he's here to stay for a long time.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Cool.
Congratulations, Terry. That's huge. Leah, hot seat questions?
Yeah, so we have gotten into this habit of asking all of our guests 2 questions about their favorite horses and horses that brought them to the industry. And it's honestly, personally become my favorite section, just because I think everyone who gets into this, really at the heart of it, is just their love for the horse. So you've been doing this for a long time, like you said, and you've had your hands on some incredible horses. But what is the horse that first captivated you and made you a fan of racing?
I'd say Affirmed. Affirmed in Alydar was the first Derby. So what year was that? I'll throw you guys a question. What year was Affirmed in Alydar? 1978. I know you're a little bit younger than I am. 1978, he won the Dirt, and I went to the Derby and I went to the Preakness, and that was the first time that I remember. And Stevie Cawthon, who, I think a lot of people know, I'm 61, but if you're in my generation, like, Stevie Cawthon was on the cover of Time magazine, and I don't know, 6 or 8 years ago was the first time I really got to know him a little bit. I was in a poker tournament with him. I was right next to him. I kept saying I could care less about the cards, but I was like, I'm sitting next to Steve Cawthon, and like, we've been friends ever since. And so Affirmed is the horse in right past overall generation. I know Alydar was a better sire, but Affirmed, he got the better of him on the racetrack, and it was great to see. And I remember that the feeling in the public at that point, right? Because obviously racing was a lot more ingrained in the American fabric, but it's a different world. So, and it's a different time. And then of course, Flightline was the one that, not that I was not energized, but anybody that was around him was energized. And I said after the Breeders' Cup Classic, like, we just have to, everything we do, it's gonna be as a result of trying to give back to the industry and to him what he's given to us, and what he continues to give to us. And I know he's profitable, and I know we've made a lot of money, and he's really secured a lot of futures, especially the Finley family. It's like, but over and above that, like, I think he's he made a difference at a point in our business, in our industry, that we needed a pickup. And I think he did that for us.
I
So
totally agree. The way he won the Breeders' Cup, I was so thankful to be able to witness. It gave us all like this inspiration, like what are we witnessing? Because Secretariat's so far ago for little us. It gave us like, oh my gosh, are we witnessing this kind of history again? So yeah, I
yeah,
love that. Of course, 100%.
Yeah.
and
I
God, Leah.
no, you go ahead.
I said that because I know there were some people, not many, but there were some like, don't touch Secretary and his legacy. I don't think anybody in the ownership group or anybody in the Flightline ecosystem ever had anything but total respect for Secretariat. But exactly to your point, like, hey, our generation or our generations that have come of age, we deserve heroes, and we deserve, you're right. We don't remember Secretariat, especially the people in their 30s and 40s in the business. And so that's what I basically I promoted, is like, hey, there's enough room at the inn for everybody. And
Yeah.
this was our generations, or our time frame was a horse that we can talk about to our grandkids. And it was great to hear like some of those big time jocks say, like, I know Junior Alvarado finished second to him on Olympiad, and he said, I'm going to be sitting in a rocking chair in 40 years. I'm going to tell my kids that I finished second to Flightline. And it's like, those kind of things, they stick with you.
Yeah, I
Amen.
mean, like Leah, I mean, I was there that day, and my second question was going to be, who is in more recent days your favorite? And I had a feeling you were going to say that. But Olympiad ran the race of his life and couldn't get anywhere close to Flightline that day. So yeah, that was something really, really cool to witness.
I'll give you a really quick, which I think is a funny story. So we're out at the Pacific Classic, and we ran first captain in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. We finished third to Olympiad. And I was talking to the owner of a Nove. Do you know Nove? It's up at Saratoga. It's a really, really good Italian place. So the Olympiad crew went up to Nove, and I was talking to the owner. He said they just couldn't be more, louder and raucous and having a great time, as you should after you win a grade one at Saratoga. And the whole restaurant stopped and went back to the back room to watch the Pacific Classic. And obviously it turned out and he said they went back, and for the last 20 minutes, there wasn't a word uttered. They had dessert and they had coffee, but they really didn't say a word. He said he had never seen a group change that significantly from before till after. Anyway, I always think about that because obviously I know and I respect that ownership group of Olympiad and Bill Mott and everything. I love the fact that the owner of the restaurant was able to tell that funny story, and kind of he was aware of the dynamics of what they had just seen out at the Pacific Classic.
Yeah,
Amen.
I love that.
Culture. That's fantastic. Terry, thank you so much for joining us. How do they get in the game? How does a listener want to contact West Point Thoroughbreds and get in?
Yeah, just go to our website. Our website is the best way to contact us. And, we like to engage with people, right? We're not for everybody. We don't try to be everything to everybody, but when the right fit comes along, and, we offer a chance for people, right, to get in at a very high level, to take advantage of our alliances and the fact that we're thinking about this game 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And so I'm very proud of the team and what we've put together. And I don't want to say the best is yet to come, because it's kind of trite. It's kind of old school, but man, I still think we got a lot of really cool things to accomplish before our course is run.
Amen. Amen.
Amazing.
I 100% agree. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks.